Tom, a couple things just about ESPN, ESPN Plus, and such.
I think last year you talked about broadcast quality, the presentation, the game day stuff. What progress has been made on that front?
There's been a lot of progress. I really give our schools a lot of credit for investing in some pregame shows, taking money that we've come out of the conference coffers. We bought better cameras. We have new announcers, and I thought it was a dramatic improvement from the year before. So I've been impressed with that. Still not perfect. And the challenge is that people think, well, it's just we're going to have football and basketball, and it's not that, right? It's softball and volleyball, and we put track and field on, and so it takes a lot of people. You guys know this, working in the media, it takes a lot of people to put these productions on, and so luckily I've seen a really dramatic increase, and we got a few areas where we need to put some more effort into, and we'll try to address those this fall. Cool.
How do you overall, just in the college landscape right now, there's so much movement as far as conferences go and teams leaving their traditional conferences. How do you go about approaching that, trying to have a good grasp on it, knowing that things are more shaky as far as change than they've ever been?
Yeah, it's on every one of our meeting agendas to talk about with our presidents and ADs and others, but we really have to worry about what we can control. And there's a lot of movement in the space that happened at the Power 5 level. Some of that might trickle down more into the G5 now, and if it affects the FCS, I guess we'll wait and see. I feel comfortable with where we're at as a league. I like our league. Our 10 full-time members, our 2 affiliates in football, I think are in a really strategically good point. But you always have to be aware and discussing the what-ifs out there. Our presidents have been very engaged in the discussion. They ask good questions. They give us good feedback on kind of what they're looking for. And so that's been an interesting process, but I can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. I can just make sure that we're well informed and prepared to address anything that might come our way.
With 5 new head coaches in the league this year, I guess how do you feel like that'll affect the competitive level? I guess top to bottom.
Yeah, you kind of never know how the new coaches are going to handle it. Some of them have been here before, so I have some good confidence that they're going to be fine. But they're walking into a really tough league. Some of them are replacing teams that won the championship. Others are replacing some programs that were at the bottom. But I have full expectation that it's going to be a really competitive year in football, and I love our coaches group. It seems they're all kind of intertwined somehow. They either work together somewhere, one worked someplace with someone or for someone, and I'm really excited about the opportunity for them.
And then obviously getting game day last year was such a big deal for the Big Sky. I guess just kind of looking towards this next season, I guess what effect do you think that'll have on the conference as a whole?
Yeah, it just raised our profile. People out east and in the Midwest, they know about the Big Sky Conference, but I think what it showed to them is that we are the premier conference in FCS football, and how big time it is to be a part of Big Sky, the conference, and certainly our football programs that are get great fan bases, great attention from their local communities, and it was a way for us to show that off. And we're not going to rest on that. We're going to keep pushing for new things and hopefully get them to come to another one of our venues at some point. But it certainly elevated us to another level.
What was your favorite memory from that one?
The favorite memory was 2 things. One was, I thought we had a good chance to get it, but until you get the call, you don't know, right? And so they called me at a little before 7 a.m. Sunday morning before game day. The guys from ESPN called me and said, "You're coming to Bozeman." And I sat there. I was sitting on the side of my bed. I was like, "Wow, I can't believe this actually happened." And I called Leon Costello at that moment, and he answered the phone kind of groggy. It was early in the morning, and I said, "It's coming." And we just had like a moment, the 2 of us. I was like, "Wow, this is really happening." And so that was special. But then the lead up that morning, a lot of you were there, just how cold it was, and yet the crowd was so energetic and so excited, like when they start the game day music before they come on the air, like that showed the horses running through in the mountains and Reese Davis talking. That's a cool moment there. And I hope everybody affiliated with whether it's Montana State or Montana or the Big Sky felt a real sense of pride at that moment, because it's not easy to get game day to come to an FCS program. And so those are the moments that stick out for me.
I know every sport's kind of different, but overall, how would you assess the way that transfer portal, NIL, and stuff has affected the Big Sky Conference as a whole?
The transfer portal has affected us in good ways and bad. In some ways, in some of our sports, our best student athletes who have eligibility left, they're just going to leave. And NIL and transfer portal all happening together at the same time just has made it different, right? So they can not only go and maybe play at a higher level or what they perceive to be a higher level, but now they can get more money there too. That was never the case before. And so, but at the reverse, we've also benefited. We've also had a number of really good transfers come into our programs from FBS and other programs. So we can't sit here and say, oh, it's really been damaging to college athletics, because we're benefiting from it. Our programs have really worked hard to try to get those types of players. And you see many of them in our preseason all-conference team. A lot of those players aren't four-year guys at schools in the Big Sky. So it's just different. It's very different. You hear it from our coaches all the time. Building a program is a real challenge now, and they really need to focus in on trying to create a foundation with those student athletes, and knowing that some of them, no matter how good a relationship you have with them, they're going to leave anyway. So it's just a new reality. Some would say it's better. A lot of people would say it's worse, but it's not changing. So we need to embrace it.
When it comes to hoops, I mean, we see these Cinderella runs. I think everybody would love to see a Big Sky team do that. What do you think? There's obviously so much that goes into it, matchup, et cetera, but what do you think needs to happen in order for a Big Sky team to do well in hoops in the tournament, because it's been a while?
Yeah, a couple things. One is we need to have our bottom half of our league in men's basketball, if that's what you're asking about, Sean, they need to get better. Okay, and the reason is because we can't get our champion a high enough seed in the NCAA tournament because of the games they're playing against the poorer teams in our league. So if that bottom half gets better, then when our champion wins, we go in the NCAA tournament. Instead of being a 15 seed, maybe we can be a 13. Maybe we can be a 12. Because the NCAA tournament's all about matchups. And your chances of getting a decent matchup as a 15 seed, not very good. So we need to get better so we can get seeded. Then it's just a matter of what happens in those 40 minutes. How do you match up with that team? So you think of a team like St. Peter's, right? They got hot, incredibly hot. Think about FDU last year, right? Confidence, playing good, and all of a sudden they can get on a run, right? Well, we have teams that could do that. We just need the right matchup, and we need to get a better seed. So at some point it's coming. It's something we talk about and find ways to do. It's why we do a thing like the Summit League Challenge, so we can get more Division I home games, which we're going to win most of those because our venues are not easy to play in. So the more home games we get, the better our bottom half gets, the better chance we have to win a game.
With ESPN, I know that they're going through some financial, almost like their model is changing quite a bit. How confident do you feel about your place on their platform right now?
I think our place is actually really solid, and it's mainly because of geography. They need programming all day. They want as much programming on their linear channels they have to fill up, but then from ESPN Plus, they need that program. What we provide for them is great programming in the western part of the United States. We've proven we can drive an audience. Some of our TV ratings that came back from our football games on Saturday night, we've had better ratings than Conference USA, Sun Belt, and the American at times. So we've proven we can draw an audience for those to ESPN. So I like our place there. The challenge is to your point, they have financial struggles because their streaming platform on ESPN Plus and their linear platform are kind of working against each other. And so we have to find kind of where's our sweet spot in there as we look to grow our program. But they've been great partners, and they continually show more and more interest in us, so we're excited about that.
If the top 16 had been seeded last year in the football playoffs, how would that help the Big Sky, and how will it help it in the future?
If my numbers were correct, all of our teams would have been in the top 16. And so what that tells me is that everybody's going to get at least one home game, right? And then you play into the tournament from there. So it's, instead of saying top 8 and then after that you're looking at geography and money, it's a true tournament, right? So because we believe that the 9th best team, and the 10th best team, as it goes down, they should have advantages that the 16th team doesn't. Right now they don't. And so we're hopeful that rather than a lot of the sports are asking to expand their fields, add 10, 12, 14 teams into there, no, we're good. 24 is a perfect number for FCS. Just help us be a little more fair to the teams that qualify at a high level. Yes, that helps us. Absolutely helps us. because we're going to have 5-6 teams in the playoffs every year, and quite frankly, our 6th place team is better than the champion of many of the other leagues.
Is it, for you guys, from your perspective, is it better to have a deep field where 6 teams are making the playoffs, but you don't win a national title, or is it better if you would have a team win a title, but only like 2 or 3 teams make the playoffs?
I'm not picking either of those, but I do want to win a national title, and our teams deserve it, and we're good enough to. Our challenge, it's real simple, is that we know who we are, right? We're going to have those 5-6 teams in the mix. Quite frankly, what we need is teams in the Missouri Valley Conference and in the mid pack of that to beat North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Because if those 2 teams, if their only loss is one loss to each other and the other one's undefeated, it's a challenge. They could be the 1 and 2 seed in the FCS, because our champion, chances are, is not going to be able to run the table. It's just too hard in our league to win every game. So that's how we end up we have like the 3, 4, 6, 8 seed, because of the depth of our league. So, and it's been proven, right? Let's think about Montana State. When they played at home, they won and went to the national championship game. When they went on the road, they lost and they didn't go, right? So it's proven time and time again, if you get that home semifinal game, you got a good chance to go to Frisco. We have to find ways to be that team. And so we'll worry about what we can control and schedule great opponents and win games and send teams in. We need some help around the country to get that home game in the semifinals, and we'll see how that plays out. But to me, it's a math thing, right? The more teams we get in, the better our football teams are, the better chance we have to be in Frisco.
Over the next 5 years, what are you most excited for about the conference, and what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge?
I think what I'm most excited about is our opportunities to grow our media exposure around the country, to keep exposing more and more people. I think as the media environment settles, a little bit like to the question over here, as the media environment settles more, I think, and more players come into, like Peacock starts to grow and other streaming services, I think there'll be more opportunities for us to showcase national TV exposure for Big Sky Sports across the board. And so I'm really excited about that, because like I said, I feel good about our place there. Our biggest challenge is simply going to be finances. Continually, we want to drive enrollment at all our schools. Many of our schools are funded, the athletic departments are funded primarily from the university. And so it's continually hard and challenging in those states to drive more and more money into intercollegiate athletics. So our challenge is to make sure our presidents are on board with what we're doing with the Big Sky, a value proposition there of the benefit of being part of our conference, help them continue to see the marketing value of intercollegiate athletics and the investment they make there. And so, those are threats that are coming at us. The other stuff, the name, image, likeness, transfer portal, some of those things are going to come and go, and I think the market will settle. We'll get a good feel for those things legislatively. But there's always going to be things that come at us that we're going to have to respond to. But as long as we're doing the right things for our student athletes, I think we'll be in a really good place.
Time for one more.
Well, with the talking of playoff seeding and stuff, would you like to see Big Sky teams avoid scheduling non-Division I teams going forward?
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, yes, because for lots of reasons that everyone would probably know. I also understand that people get caught sometimes. Our biggest challenge is that most teams east of the Mississippi, they either don't have to hop on a plane for a non-conference game or don't want to. And so then it's a matter of us just enticing them by money to hop on a plane and come here. We got plenty of teams that'll fly to them. Our problem is we can't get teams to come to us. And so when teams get caught sometimes and have to schedule non-Division I, I get it. But it also puts your football team in a really tough situation, because chances are you might be playing 2 money games then, and if you need to win 7 games to go to the playoffs, 7 Division I games to go to the playoffs, that means you probably have to go 7-1 in the league to make the playoffs. And there's only a handful of teams every year that have a chance to do that. So it's the balance of understanding your financial model and also with what your goals are. If your goals are to get to the playoffs, you don't want to be playing a non-D1.
How'd your preseason poll turn out?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Tyson doesn't share that stuff with me, so I'll find out when you guys do today. So that's great.
Thanks guys.